Welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to explain you about basics of test case. By seeing this video, you will understand how to prepare a test case for any testing project. And also you will come to know the best practices being followed in writing test cases by testing professionals. What is a test case? A test case is a detailed procedure that fully tests a feature or an aspect of a feature. It is nothing but a set of conditions or variables under which a tester will determine whether a system under test satisfies requirements or works correctly. Each test case specifies input values, expected output, and the preconditions for executing the test. Test cases must be written by a team member who thoroughly understands the function being tested. A good test case helps to identify problems in the requirements or design of an application. What is a good test case? A test case which has the following characteristics is considered to be a good test case. Accurate. It should address the objective of the test case. Economical. It should limit the precise steps. It should be maintainable and reusable. It maps to the logical flow of the application, both forward and backward traceable to a requirement as well as defect. Self-explanatory and requires no help in understanding during execution. Self-cleaning and brief comments in case of automation test scripts. Objective and importance of a test case. The basic objective of writing test cases is to ensure complete test coverage of the application. The most extensive effort in preparing to test a software is writing test cases. Gives better reliability in estimating the test effort. It improves productivity during test execution by reducing the understanding time during execution. Writing effective test cases is a skill and that can be achieved by experience and in-depth study of the application on which test cases are being written. Software testing has been recognized as a separate technical discipline in the software development life cycle. A structured and process-oriented approach is recommended in every phase of the test process. Documenting the test cases prior to test execution ensures that the tester does the homework and is prepared for the attack on the application under test. And the last one is breaking down the test requirements into test scenarios and test cases would help the testers avoid missing out certain test conditions. What is the purpose of test cases? It helps to find the defects in software products. It is to verify that the software meets the end user requirements. It improves software quality. It minimizes the software maintenance and support costs by identifying defects in the early stage. It avoids post-deployment risks. It will ensure compliance with processes. And test case execution results and reports help management to make decisions on software acceptance. Language usage in writing test cases. Use simple and easy to understand language. Use active voice while writing test cases. For example, click on OK button. Enter the data in screen 1. Choose the option 1 and navigate to the account summary page. Next is Use words like verify for starting any sentence in test case description. For example, verify whether the account information gets displayed on clicking the account summary menu. Next, use words like must and use future tense for expected results. For example, the application must display the account information screen. An error message must be displayed on entering special characters. Tips on writing test cases. Don't write long test cases. Try to limit to maximum of 10 steps. Avoid incoherence. Follow a logical flow from one test case to another. Don't skip steps assuming that it is understood. Don't confuse between action and result. For example, the button is pressed. Next is, don't write test cases as paragraphs in a Word document. Use table or matrix format or any spreadsheet format. Follow a logical flow, but start writing test cases for those requirements that are frozen and make a mark like to be discussed for those unclear sections. Practices used while writing test cases. Write test cases with end user perspective. Write test steps in a simple way that anyone can follow them easily. Make the test cases reusable. Set the priority. Provide a test case description, test data, expected result, precondition and postcondition. Write invalid test cases along with valid test cases. Follow a proper naming conventions. Review the test cases regularly and update them if necessary. What are all the qualities required for a good test case? A good test case has a high probability of finding an error. To find the maximum error, the tester should have complete understanding of the software and attempt to check all the conditions that how the software might fail. Every test case should have a different purpose from other. Otherwise, tester will repeat the testing process for the same condition. And a good test case should be neither too simple nor too complex. In general, each test case should be executed separately. Next question. Process for test case development workflow. It starts with use cases and requirement from client. Then understand the requirements. Send query log for clarifications. Send estimates and plan for testing. Then define the approach and number of test cases. Identify high-level scenarios for each test case. Send the scenarios for review. Prepare traceability matrix. Then develop detailed test procedures for scenarios. Perform review on completed test cases. Update the review findings. And finally, deliver the test cases to client for sign off. for which type of testing we write test cases. We can write test cases for the following types: unit testing, functional testing, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing, regression testing, recovery testing, security testing, globalization testing, localization testing, internationalization testing, and compatibility testing. Mostly compatibility testing test cases will be covered in the system testing test cases itself. Normally, the below testing types will have checklist and not test cases: usability testing and accessibility testing. Test case template consists of test case ID, test priority, requirement section, module name, test designed by, test data, test executed by, test execution date, test title, test summary, preconditions, dependencies, test steps, expected result, actual result, and attachments and references. Brief description for test case template fields. Test case ID. It is a unique ID for each test case. It should follow the convention to indicate the type of test. For example, FT_EBC_1. It means functional testing underscore the module underscore test case number. Next, test priority, whether it is low, medium or high. This one is for test execution. It is based on the test case impact on the system or business. Then requirement for which this test case is written. The section number of the requirement document should be mentioned. It is to map the written test case with requirement document. Then module name, the names of the main module or submodule of the requirement. Then test designed by, tester's name is mentioned here. It is to contact the author for clarification. Test data, it is used as an input for the test case. Various data sets are to be provided with exact values. Also, you can store test data in a text file or in an Excel spreadsheet. Test executed by, you have to mention the person who is going to execute the test case. Test execution date, date of test execution mentioned here. Test title or name, it is short information on the test case but informative. Test summary or description, describe test objective in brief. Preconditions, list all the preconditions to execute the test case successfully. Dependencies, it is to highlight the dependencies either with other test cases like execution sequence, test output, etc. or test requirement. Test steps, list all the test execution steps with the required information in the sequence order with which the test case should be executed. This field can be used to describe test conditions, test data, and user roles for running tests. Expected result, describe the expected result in detail, including message or error that should be displayed on the screen. Actual result, actual test result to be filled after test execution. Tester need to enter the system behavior after test execution. Test status. Actual result should be entered in this section. And the last is attachments and references. Test results should be attached with a file or provide the link or location to the actual path of the attached file. How to write test cases from requirements? First, examine the requirement to understand overall functionality. Then decide which test design methods are suitable to write test case. Test method for functional and system integration testing is block box method. It can be equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis, or error guessing. Once the suitable test design method selected, then write the test cases as per the business requirement. In this way, you will be ensured that all the requirements are testable. Difference between a test case and a walkthrough. A test case describes the input to a test. It includes the test data, the screen that will be used, and the parameters that may drive the test. It describes the steps necessary to execute the test, and also it describes the output and the result that are to be expected. Whereas a test case walkthrough is a review of the test case by another team member. They will highlight the discrepancies identified during review and fix the same, or request the concerned person to fix the identified issue. What is blocked test case? Blocked test case refers to the test case which cannot be executed due to preconditions for its execution are not filled. It can be either failure of previous test case in the system or system integration issues which occur due to code or configuration, environment, data flow, etc. Difference between test scenario and test case. Test scenario. A test scenario is any functionality that can be tested. It is also called test condition or test possibility. Whereas test case is a document that contains the steps that have to be executed. It has been planned earlier. Test suite. It is a set of collection of test cases. Difference between a test plan and a test case. The test plan describes what to test in an application, whereas a test case describes how to perform a particular test in that application. What is test scenario? Test scenario is a set of test cases which ensure that the business process flows are tested from end to end. They may be independent tests or a series of tests that follow each other, each dependent on the output of the previous one. Test scenarios gives the idea of what we have to test. Test scenario is like a high-level test case. Difference between test case and test scenario. Test scenarios are high-level actions, whereas test cases are low-level actions. A test scenario is used as a brief providing little details on the testing to be performed, whereas test cases have much broader coverage. They provide complete detail about the test, its intended actions and step of testing, along with expected result. With this, we conclude the basics of test case topic. We will connect again with you in our next topic, test case preparation and guidelines. Thank you for watching our channel.